Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Legends of Tomorrow episode 11 video. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. It was called The Magnificent 8, obviously a big reference to The Magnificent 7. So here we go. This will probably go down as a lot of people's favorite episode. It's definitely my favorite episode so far. One, because I really like westerns. Two, because if they're going to riff on something, I really like it when they're really upfront about it, like they put it right in the title. Magnificent 7, Magnificent 8. Now I'm going to have to explain a lot of Easter eggs. There were a lot of western things going on in this because it was a western episode, but it goes way deeper than that because we have Jonah Hex stuff from the comics. So you have a lot of DC Comics, Quentin Tarantino-ing going on in this episode, where they're paying homage to a lot of really awesome things while doing a really big comic book character. And Jonah Hex really was the highlight of the episode. This was meant to introduce him to the TV universe. And I love the way they set his backstory up. So let's just go ahead and do top 5 WTF. Then I'll explain all the comic book Easter eggs, and I'll talk about some of the really awesome secondary Easter eggs for Western movies and the stuff they were riffing on. Number 5. DC's Magnificent 7. So if you've never watched the Magnificent 7 movie, it's a total classic. It was made in 1960, but it was also a remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai from 1954. So if you think it's really funny that Hollywood reboots movies and other genres in a really short span of time, they've been doing it for forever, even all the way back past the 60s and the 50s. So if you really want to go for bonus points here, just watch Seven Samurai. It's one of the greatest films of all time. But because this is TV and they're doing comedy, they're really on the nose about how they're riffing on that. The basic plot of Magnificent 7 and Seven Samurai is that a group of gunfighters, a group of samurai, have to train a whole village of regular people to defend themselves from a group of bandits. So that's why at the end of the episode, you see them collectively fight off that enemy gang. Even with their limited budget, I felt like they did a good job of hitting all the Western tropes. There's always a lot of familiar tropes from spaghetti Westerns, from American Westerns. Like there's the common theme of the person who was run out of town previously, or someone who bailed and has come back. That's what you have with Jonah Hex and Rip Hunter. Rip Hunter was kind of run out of town. I can't believe you came back after what you did. Wanted posters are another big trope of Westerns. Jonah Hex's wanted poster is inside Rip's office. And if you really want to go for deep cuts, here are a couple Western archetypes that you can kind of see these characters on screen. The gunslinger, the retired gunfighter, the young gun, the bandito, the highwayman, the rustler, the retired outlaw, the bounty hunter. I've already seen Tumblr launch a ship for Rip Hunter and Jonah Hex, which I totally think is funny. I think the reason for that, number 4 WTF, we'll actually go on to, introducing Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex and Rip Hunter used to be a team. Rip Hunter had that mental drift that happened to the other characters the previous week where they just kind of forget about their normal lives and they get sucked into like whatever time and place they're in. So Rip Hunter, Jonah Hex were working in this town. It got taken over by bandits and Rip had to leave while the bandits destroyed the town. That's why Jonah Hex was so pissed at him when he saw him again. You mean you knew that was going to happen and you let it happen anyway? So the only real problem I had with that moment is that Jonah Hex isn't surprised at all by the idea that Rip Hunter is a time traveler, but knowing that he's a time traveler, he should have been able to connect the dots that Rip Hunter would have known what would end up happening to that town. But whatever, it's just a great funny moment when Jonah Hex walks on the ship and is just like, yep, no big deal, like he's not surprised at all. We also learned that Rip Hunter's coat used to belong to Jonah Hex. My coat suits you well, and Rip Hunter actually gives him one of his advanced revolvers at the end. So lasting thoughts are that Jonah Hex is going to continue to exist in the DC TV universe. They'll just try and use him at least once a year, probably specific to Legends of Tomorrow. If you've never heard of Jonah Hex, here's a quick backstory. So he appeared for the first time in All-Star Western, Volume 2, Number 10, in 1972. So he's pretty old, not as old as some DC characters, and it was basically a Dances with Wolves type of story. His father sells him into slavery with the Apache Indians, and as he grows up, he eventually earns their respect and integrates with their culture. Eventually, he falls in love with an Indian woman. Things go crazy, he almost ends up getting killed, but a U.S. cavalry patrol nearby saves him and ends up massacring all the Indians. So he reintegrates into American culture and becomes a bounty hunter. He doesn't have any special abilities, he's just a total badass, so what you see is what you get. If you want to read some really awesome stories for him, you could read All-Star Western, Guns in Gotham, Jonah Hex, Face Full of Violence, as in, fistful of dollars, nice Clint Eastwood reference, Jonah Hex Origins, Jonah Hex Riders of the Worm and such, and Jonah Hex Two Gun Mojo. But if you're not a big fan of the Western genre, then don't worry about it, because they are Western stories. He's a Western character, so even if he's time traveling, it's still a Western story. It's like sci-fi Western. Number 3 WTF, Ray Palmer nuts up as John Wayne. The name's Wayne. This was one of my favorite Adam scenes. His character is meant to be the funny guy on the team, but I feel like he's Fozzie Bear. Like, he makes jokes, but he doesn't realize that he's telling bad jokes. So it's just really nice to see him get this moment. But number 2 WTF, even cooler than that, we learn about Martin Stein's backstory. His father was a scoundrel, just like Captain Cold's dad, only his dad was a gambler. These types of moments are my favorite because this is where you really learn about characters, and they can go a little off, but like this isn't from the comic books, this is an original creation of the show. Martin Stein in the comics is a little less clearly defined. He has some crazy stories. The character moments are what make them real for you, like he feels like a real person now. His dad was crap, so he learned how to gamble at a young age, but at a certain point when he was growing up, he did the Captain Cold thing where he's like, I'm not going to be like you, Dad. I'm going to try and make something myself. Captain Cold's life took a different direction, but you get the idea. They are cut from the same cloth. They come from very similar types of families. On to my number 1 WTF. They are targeted by the Pilgrim, only she's going after their young selves to erase them from the timeline. Doing the smart thing, just go to the source, kill them as children, they'll never live to cause all this trouble for the Time Masters. The real question is who is the Pilgrim? Is she an original creation of the show, or is she a TV version of a comic book character? Now, there is no character that fits her description that is called the Pilgrim, so that might just be a codename. When we find out if she has a real name beyond the Pilgrim, then we can figure out who she really is. But they say that she's basically like the Omega Protocol. She's like the true Boba Fett of the Time Masters, the person who always gets their man. Remember, Boba Fett collected on Han Solo's bounty, so even though he wound up in the Sarlacc, he still got his man. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. What was your favorite moment? Just meeting Jonah Hex? I know everybody wants him to come back really soon. I don't know if he's going to come back before the end of the season. He'll at least come back for season 2. And I totally love that Warner Brothers and DC let the TV shows use this character. Usually it happens the other way around. The movies will steal TV characters, like with the Suicide Squad. But if you guys spotted any other comic book Easter eggs, just let me know in the comments. This is one of those few episodes without Vandal Savage. They did have some Hawkgirl stuff, like she runs into a previous version of herself. I am really not digging this Ray Palmer romance story. That older version of herself was super cynical, so obviously things aren't quite so bad. She doesn't have to surrender to the idea that she's a slave to the cycle of death and rebirth. But there is a new episode next week. The Flash is back next week, so be sure to subscribe to get those videos. I will be doing a Flash bonus video in the next day or two. And we have some Batman stuff to talk about. We have to talk about Ben Affleck's new Batman movie. So those videos will all be coming really soon. While you guys wait for my next video to post, you can click here to learn about Deadpool 2 and what Tim Miller, the director, was saying about Spider-Man crossover in the future. And you can click here to learn all about the Spider-Man Homecoming movie that Sony just announced. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.